Hey there, I am so excited. I know that if you're listening to this, you don't have a lot of time, but you want to do a better job with your social media storytelling. And so you are in the right spot. We have Sarah Loyd from Social News Desk. You're going to learn about a new tool. It's not new, it's been around a long time, but you may not know and haven't heard about it. And so we're going to learn just how Social News Desk can help take your storytelling to the next level with 9 social media platforms. We're going to chat a little bit about Nextdoor. You're going to learn some fascinating stats about Nextdoor and how you might potentially be wanting to use that for your school. I'll dig into pricing. We'll dig into, some of the best stories that Sarah has seen schools be able to share on social media. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. So lean in. Also, there's a free 2-week trial that you can use. And so, again, listen in, find out all about it. You're going to take some tips and tricks, whether or not you decide to get involved. Okay. A quick ask, if you're listening to this podcast, thank you. I really appreciate it. One of my favorite things that I get to do is to talk with you, with leaders from across the country and beyond every single week. And one way to say thank you and that you appreciate this podcast is by leaving a review. So right now on the podcast app, we have 47 reviews. We've got a 4.9 star rating. I want you to give me an honest rating, but of course a 5 star is great. Guys, the more reviews we have, the more it shows other people that, gosh, this is a really helpful tool. I'm going to listen to this to try to up my game. And in 2025, the goal here at Social School for EDU is to reach more people. We know that there are great things happening in our schools, and some of these little tips and tricks really help make a difference. So, would you, if you have never, leave me a review, okay? Put a little comment in there of how this has helped you. And now let's get to this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip. I want to make sure that you realize that I have a brand new, newly updated 100 inspirational ideas for social media posts for schools. You guys, we have so many free resources out there. These one-pagers that you can pin up in your office, give you ideas, inspiration, things that work for school storytelling. One of the very first free downloads that I put out there was 100 ideas for school social media posts. Okay. But it's been a few years, it's been a hot second. We've got a lot of things have changed with social media, and some of the things that used to work don't work so well anymore. So I think over 25%, probably about 35% of the items on the new and updated list are updated. They're modified, they're improved. Okay. So my tip to you is go into the show notes today and download the newest list of 100 ideas. And between now and the end of the year, let's check off as many of those 100 things as you can. And if you do, if you start checking those off and some work really well, will you email me, Andrea at socialschoolforedu.com? I want to know if some of the ideas are working well for your school. Okay. You just might be highlighted on an upcoming episode or in our blog or in our newsletter. Okay. We love to shine the spotlight on you. So go ahead, click the show notes, download that new list of 100 ideas. You can print that out, put that right by your computer, and try out some of those ideas. Okay. Now let's get into this week's interview with Sarah Loyd from Social News Desk. Hello and welcome to the podcast. Hi, Sarah.
Hi there.
I'm excited to learn a little bit more about you and a little more about Social News Desk today. So, just as we get started, can you kind of share some of your background and then how Social News Desk serves schools?
Yeah, so I actually started my career as a journalist. I went to school for communications and I was a news producer for a number of years before I moved into news promotions. And then back in 2007, when Facebook started opening up pages for businesses, I was actually involved in starting the page as a promotional tool for the TV station that I worked for in Austin.
Okay.
One day we had a breaking news story, and I went to the newsroom to help cover the story on social media, which was not something we had done before. We had just been using our Facebook page to post promos for stuff like our newscast and Lost and, things like that. It was that long ago. But, covering the story on social and seeing the response that we got from our audience just really opened up a whole new realm of possibilities for sharing information directly with our followers. And I was at that TV station for a couple more years, built the Facebook page from 0 to 26,000, which was a really big deal back then. After that, I ended up moving down here to San Antonio and actually went into working in PR and communications for SeaWorld, which was a really interesting place to work. So I was, hanging out with sea lions and dolphins and also helping to run the park's social media. So that was a lot of fun. But I eventually moved back into managing social media for a newsroom here in San Antonio, and they happened to be a very early customer of Social News Desk. So I was using the tool, and after a couple of years of just being a super fan, I ended up getting hired by the company to work in customer support and coaching. So I've been with the team now for almost 11 years.
Okay.
I have moved out of customer success, and now I am the head of product success and evangelism. And what that means is that I get to work directly with our development team to help guide the product roadmap. I also talk to customers to learn how they're using the tool and how we can make it better for them. And then part of my job also involves ongoing education. We have a monthly webinar series that we do. We've covered everything from storytelling strategies for K-12 to crisis communications to sharing best practices directly from folks at Meta and Blue Sky, as well as tips and hacks for small social media teams. We serve several school districts now. We help them streamline managing their social media accounts from a single dashboard. So we now support publishing to 9 social media networks: Facebook, X, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Threads, and Nextdoor. And I have to count to
Yeah.
make sure I hit them all. What's nice about that is multiple people can get into the tool and get their work done without having to share passwords to their social media accounts. And it's really a force multiplier for small social media teams. It allows them to get much more work done and cover more ground without taking up additional time that they just don't have. It's really a great way for schools to keep their accounts organized and also include plenty of folks who can help contribute to their school's social media efforts. We also have a full reporting suite. So a school's social media coordinator can understand what content is performing best at what time of day and adjust their social strategy accordingly. You can also set up automated reports to be delivered straight to your inbox. And our search and listen tools also allow folks to see what's happening in the community around them, including on Nextdoor, which is really interesting. It's great virtual people watching. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Nextdoor too. So, just kind of going back, the foundations of Social News Desk was really serving news stations, and you still serve news stations, I'm assuming.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were founded back in 2010 by a pair of journalists. They were executive producers at a TV station in Florida. They were actually covering a story that had a social media angle, and they realized there wasn't a tool out there that helped people manage social well. So they were scrambling to find passwords. They didn't know who had access to their Facebook page. I think they had to pull in, the youngest intern in the newsroom to help them like navigate Facebook. So after all of that, they decided that they were going to create a social media management tool of their own. And yeah, it was originally built specifically for newsrooms. So we, serve news for more than a decade, almost exclusively. We did have a couple of other, folks who were in K-12 and in universities and things like that. But in the last couple of years, we've really seen a lot of former journalists move into school and government communications, and they took Social News Desk with them into their new roles. Because they wanted to, keep things organized across departments or campuses. They knew it was a huge time saver, and they're used to working at the speed of news, which is for folks I know who have gone from news into school or government communications, the pace, while it seems fast, is a lot slower than it is in a newsroom. So, they're used to cranking out that social content really quickly and need a tool to help them with that. So it's been a really great opportunity to work with great communicators in other industries.
Yeah. And you have such a unique angle in regards to, you were at a news station and we're just using it, and now are actually able to help promote it for other folks. Very needed in regards to the school side. And just before I jump into some of those unique features, I just want to ask a little bit about Nextdoor. So are many schools, have you seen schools using Nextdoor as a platform for storytelling, or are they more using Nextdoor for a listening tool?
So I think Nextdoor as a publishing tool is still relatively new. I know that it wasn't too long ago that Nextdoor opened up agency pages for school districts.
Okay.
So it is still relatively new. We do have a few school districts that we work with that are, kind of dipping their toe into that. And Nextdoor really presents a different audience than a lot of other social networks. Some of the work that we've done with Nextdoor, they've discovered that upwards of 50% of people on Nextdoor are not on Facebook. And as big of an audience as Facebook is, that's still a pretty big chunk of people that you're not reaching if you're just on Facebook or on some of the other social networks. So yeah, Nextdoor is a great opportunity, and especially if you have a tool that makes it super streamlined. It doesn't take any extra time. You might as well. It's kind of a nice way to just sort of expand your reach. As far as listening goes, we have a full Nextdoor listening suite that allows you to actually, drop a pin, put in a keyword, so you can sort of listen to what people are saying about, schools in the area. It's great for, if there's an emergency going on and you need to keep tabs on what the local police or fire department is saying. You can keep tabs on what they're saying on Nextdoor, statewide agencies, things like that, weather alerts. So it's really great, from kind of a crisis communication and management perspective, just to be able to have your ear to the ground on Nextdoor as well.
Yeah. And I had kind of I learned of you guys. I think I'd gotten connected on LinkedIn. I am friends with my folks over at Class Intercom, which I think
Mhm.
is a similar tool, but obviously some differences. And so always happy to kind of explore and share, different options for folks. Are there some other unique features that maybe set you apart from some other platforms? Because, we do a lot of our scheduling through Meta Business Suite.
Mhm.
Social School for EDU, as our team, we actually do utilize Class Intercom with social archiving and then being able to schedule out beyond the 29 days that Meta lets you, right? So
Yeah.
we're scheduling out some weekly features. What are some other like unique features for Social News Desk?
Yeah, so really almost every feature in S&D was either built for or influenced by social media professionals in the news, education, or government spaces. And we take customer feedback really seriously. It's literally the most important part of my job. So our calendar feature is really great for busy K-12 social media managers because it lets them see the big picture across multiple social media accounts. You can organize by brand, by social network. You can even tag posts for particular projects or topics to make sure that you're executing your social media plan effectively. So if you want to, have a certain number of posts that are coming from students or from teachers, you can actually tag those, filter in the calendar, and see exactly where things are spread out. And you can, like you said, schedule out way beyond where Meta Business Suite allows you to schedule. Um, you can also, save a ton of time using Social News Desk. Some of our customers have told us that they save upwards of 80% of their time versus, going to every social network and crafting those posts separately. So just giving people, a way to hit all 9 of those social networks if that's what they want to do, or even, just combinations you can save for by campus or by, grade level or things like that. If you just want to hit your high schools, you can just craft a post that just goes to those accounts really easily. I will say that what really, really sets us apart is our customer service. All of our client success managers are former S&D customers, the way I was. So they all have real on the ground experience running social media for an organization, and they really understand some of the unique challenges that our customers face. They will check in with customers. So you don't, you're always going to have a person that you're able to get in touch with if you have a question. If you send in a support ticket, there's a 99% chance that your person is going to be the one to handle that personally. So they, track what you're doing. They understand your challenges, and they talk directly to me. So if you have a feature request, if there's some problem that you're trying to solve, we want to help you guys solve it. So it's really one of our points of pride. We get people answers to support in hours instead of days. And it's something we've heard is really important to our customers.
Yeah, especially when social media is so urgent, right? In
Yeah.
some cases. So,
Yeah, that's the nice thing about having worked with journalists for so long is journalists have very tight deadlines. So
mhm.
if they're writing in and they need something, usually they need it like 10 minutes ago. So we try to make sure that, especially with really urgent requests, that we're hopping on those right away.
Yeah. So how many customers do you have in regards to on maybe the news side and then on the school side, if you can share that?
I can probably share some of that. I would say probably the bulk of our customers are still news, just because the news organizations we work with are so large. So literally supporting thousands and thousands of journalists across the country.
Okay.
We have a presence in, I want to say, almost every Nielsen designated media area in the United States. There's 210 of them, and I think we're in something like 205.
Okay.
So pretty wide reach as far as journalism goes. We have government representation and school representation probably in about 15 states now.
Okay.
So we're starting to spread out. The word's getting out about kind of what we're doing in those spaces. And, as word of mouth kind of spreads, people are coming to us and saying, hey, like, what are you guys doing over here?
Right. Well, what does the investment look like for a school? I mean, obviously, I've got some bigger school districts tuning in. I've got some smaller school districts, and obviously, I'm sure you serve public schools. You can serve private schools as well. But how does that break down, if you can share?
Sure. Yeah. So for our K-12 friends, we actually offer kind of a unique pricing structure. Our junior varsity plan starts at $149 a month. And that includes one power user who, can do everything in social news desk. They can do the listening, the reporting, all the publishing and scheduling, approvals, workflows, things like that. And then that also includes up to 10 content creator user accounts. And you have an option to add additional content creators in batches of 10. So those accounts are great for folks like teachers or trusted students or parent volunteers who maybe only need to create posts that the power user can then approve and schedule out to flesh out their larger social media plan. Because we know it's really important to be able to get, multiple hands, many hands make light work. So the more people you can kind of get involved with social media, the easier it's going to make your job. We also have a varsity plan that unlocks even more features and user accounts. And we also offer special enterprise pricing for larger schools or districts who are managing social across multiple campuses.
Okay. So that GV, that $149 a month, one power user, all nine of those platforms that you
Yep.
said, but
Yep.
but
Unlimited social
basically,
accounts. Yeah.
but is it basically the district, or if they had district and let's just say Facebook pages for the schools plus the district, would all of those be able to be on that one JV plan?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that helps, guys. I hope you guys check them out. I'm assuming they can easily get a walkthrough with somebody on your team if they are interested in taking a look.
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually offer a 2-week free trial. So if people want to get their hands on it first, they definitely can do that. I would absolutely encourage people to do that. I know I like to try before I buy whenever I can. So, being able to kick the tires is really important. So we do offer that free trial. Obviously, if people want a more detailed walkthrough with one of our sales reps, we can set that up. With some of our larger clients, sometimes they have really, really detailed tech questions. So sometimes I get involved with those demos too. So you may see me if you reach out for a demo.
Okay. Now, how you mentioned those content creators, so those
Mhm.
wouldn't necessarily maybe be the comms person or the main person, but it might be students, it might be, parents. So, how do you encourage those types of people to help contribute content for social media?
Yeah, so I know that schools often face this challenge of like feeding the social media beast. Like it's just this very big hole that you feel like you have to fill. So bringing those students and parents onto the team is really important, for folks who don't have the time to be everywhere all at once. Like none of us can do that. And I really love when schools get students involved in social media because, for one thing, it's a really great skill for students to have. Is something they can put on those college applications and job applications as they get older. I have a almost 16-year-old son, so that is very, very top of mind for me. I also just really love the fact that showing off those student voices and perspectives makes a school's social media presence so much richer and more authentic. I've seen that people tend to be a little bit nicer when they know that there's a student behind the content versus just some kind of faceless person that they can pick on a little bit. And the same really goes for parents. When parents don't feel like they're being talked at, but feel empowered to share their perspective on their child's education, it really helps them feel more engaged and connected to the school as a whole. I know my son's high school encourages parents to share their pictures, videos, stories for social media. And I, as a consumer of that content, really love to see the things that I would otherwise miss, like pep rallies that I can't attend because I'm working, or video from the sidelines at my son's football games when I'm, up in the stands with the other parents.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are some of the best stories that you've been able to share from, like some of the schools that you serve? You just talked about a couple that are in your own, your son's school.
Yeah.
Are there a couple of stories that just kind of stand out as far as what schools are sharing on their social media platforms?
Yeah, so one of our customers is Genesee Intermediate School District, and they actually shared an amazing video from one of their bus drivers who works with special needs students. And she actually started as a bus aide and loved it so much that she was able to train with the district to become a full-time bus driver. And she shares this story, in the video of kind of the path that she took. And you can really hear her enthusiasm for her work in the video. And what I think is the best part of this particular story is this was actually part of a push to encourage more people to apply to work as bus drivers. So it was part of a hiring campaign, but it felt really authentic. And, I obviously am not, being in Texas and not a bus driver, I'm not going to apply for a job, but I really enjoyed, hearing her story directly. And sharing that employee's experience just really personalized the campaign instead of just, slapping up a now hiring graphic across all of their social channels. And that really stood out to me.
Yeah, I love that. I wonder, do you think we'd be able to get a link to that video?
Yeah, I can definitely dig that up and send it your way.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the show notes along with all of your information and the information for Social News Desk, and so people can check it out. As we wrap up, Sarah, what would you say is your best social media tip?
Yeah, so I would say, again, empowering students and parents to be a part of your social media team and really bring in those diverse perspectives. Using a tool like Social News Desk makes it really easy to add them in as content contributors without giving out the keys to the kingdom. And that really, streamlines how people can contribute content. So instead of having an email address where you have to collect content or a form where people can submit, it allows them to really almost feel like they are publishing directly, but then you still have control over when that post goes out. If you need to make some edits for grammar or length or clarity, you still have all of that control. I definitely encourage schools to keep their accounts locked down as far as who has the passwords or direct access to Facebook pages. But of course, it shouldn't just be that person's job to fill out the schedule. So having your student and parent creators draft posts that you can then schedule from a central location, that allows you to again have that control and also not have people competing to publish at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. You say kings to the kingdom. I always say kings to or keys to the castle.
Yes.
So, I just a lot of phrases. Sarah, we've been in this work. I mean, I've been in it since 2014, certainly learned a lot. You can tell your passion for what you get to do in regards to, really bringing that expertise as a journalist over into the school world. And it's no wonder that this has been such a straightforward and direct connection to, what started out for just news channels, now getting into government and schools and school districts. So we love sharing tools like yours with our listeners. I hope you guys listening will maybe take a look at that. If I'm going to include some of your contact information, Sarah, but if somebody wanted to reach out and just ask you specifically questions, what would be the best way?
Yeah, so I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. You can search for me there. I'm Sarah Loyd with one L, Sarah with an H, Loyd with one L. I really love getting to see what people are doing on social. So by all means, send me a connection request. I'm on LinkedIn almost every day, spying on what people are up to. That's how I stay connected with you, Andrea. So,
Yeah.
LinkedIn is great. If folks want to learn more about Social News Desk, they can head to socialnewsdesk.com or email us at info@socialnewsdesk.com. And again, we do offer that free trial. So if people want to give us a try for themselves, they can get started right away at socialnewsdesk.com/demo.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. You guys, I hope you learned a lot and will consider taking advantage of that free trial. And it's obviously a very reasonable price, even if you decide to jump in. So we're always looking for ways to make it easier. Telling stories in schools, it's a fun job, but it's not necessarily easy. So I'm glad that we have tools like yours to make the job easier. So thank you so much, Sarah, for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to get to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody listening, keep telling those stories, and we'll be back again next week. Bye bye.